Over the past few days, we have been traveling with Andrew Biggio of the Rifle and a World War II veteran by the name of Lester Shrink, who was a ball turret gunner in a B-17 and was shot down during World War II and held prisoner of the Germans for 15 months. And in talking with Lester, one of the things that he expressed was concern about the missing American airmen of World War II and what happened to them. And in the discussions that we had, also got to talking about all of the missing Germans who still are buried in unmarked graves all across Germany and the battlefields of the Second World War. So one of the things that he wanted to do on this trip was to visit a German war cemetery. Well, right now, we are about 40 miles south of Berlin at a place called the Halbe Forest War Cemetery, where some of the most vicious fighting took place in the closing weeks of the Second World War. Now again, as I mentioned, we are close to the town of Halbe, which is approximately 40-50 miles south of the city of Berlin. And here at the Halbe Forest War Cemetery, well, in the closing weeks of the Second World War, there would have been a ton of fighting that took place right here in something that became known as the Halbe Pocket. And this whole region is just completely seeded with unmarked graves of the German war dead of the Second World War. And consistently, the Germans are unearthing a lot of these unmarked graves. Well, the missing Germans who are discovered are brought here to this war cemetery. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here walking the ground here in this cemetery and talking about what happened here. If you have watched past episodes of History Traveler, you know that one of the things that we like to do is to visit cemeteries. And with the German war cemeteries, I found that each one is unique in their own way. So here we are looking at the grave of a Reinhold Baron, who looks to be 43 years old when he was killed, died April of 1945. We don't have an exact date. So here towards the end of the war in Germany, what you find are a lot of old men and young boys who are being brought up to defend the city of Berlin and to defend the German homeland. Here's the grave of an Istvan Jossa. So it's not only German soldiers who were buried here. Sometimes you'll find some Polish names or names of people from other countries who also fought with the Germans. Here we have, looks to be a little bit younger guy. Looks like he was maybe 42 or 43 when he died. And then if we move down here, well, we start getting into the graves of the unknown, of the soldiers who were killed in April of 1945.
Okay, so now we're standing at the Forest War Cemetery of the town of Halbe, and this is one of the biggest war cemeteries in the area around Berlin. And the reason for that cemetery to be that big is the big battle of the Halbe Pocket. So when the Russians crossed the Oder River and smashed the final line of defense of the Germans near the Oder River on April 16th, the German army, who was holding the line just east of Berlin, was more or less cut and diverted. So the 9th Army had to withdraw a bit to the southwest, and the main attack of the Red Army was going from the Oder River straight to the city of Berlin. And when this German army was like escaping a little bit from the advancing Red Army, the first Ukrainian front of the Red Army was also attacking across the Oder River into Germany, and they were encircling the remains of the Ninth Army, and also the first Belarusian front, which attacked the Seelow Heights towards Berlin. They recognized that they had the chance to trap the remains of the Ninth Army here, about 40 miles south of Berlin. So they had a big attack and encircling about 80,000 German troops in the forests around the town. And it came from April 24th to April 28th. It came to really heavy fights. And the Red Army tried to fighting each day and making the circle smaller and smaller. And then the last day, the German, or during all these fights, the Germans had a few attempts to make it out of this siege, out of the pocket of Halbe. During this battle, a lot of soldiers died. But what's also really bad is that a lot of fleeing civilians were also trapped in that pocket, and they were right in the middle of this big fighting, and so also a lot of civilians were killed. The Red Army was also shelling the German positions. There were of course, dive bombers from the Russians, and all the roads in the forests here became like a big traffic jam, full of German military convoys, civilians fleeing. Another aspect of the Battle of Halbe is also a lot of civilians who came in the area. They thought they will be safe in the forests here. Some refugees also came from Berlin because they thought the Red Army is aiming for Berlin, so if they hide in the forest, they are safe. But it was a big mistake, because the battle was coming also here into the area of Halbe, into the deep pine forests. And of course, the battles brought a lot of death. So it was a real hell.
As you are walking the ground here in this cemetery, every once in a while you'll come upon a stone that looks like this. So obviously this is a larger stone with several names on it. So I'm seeing a Kurt Troutman and a Paul Washka. And also here at the bottom, you can see it says 184, and translated to English, that translates to unknown war dead. Now, again, in this cemetery, there are soldiers and there are also civilians. So here along this row are 184 individuals, either soldiers or civilians, again, it couldn't be determined, who were buried here in this cemetery, who were killed in April of 1945 in the fighting that took place here in this pocket.
Whenever I come to a German war cemetery, if I have time, unless I'm on a tour or something, I check with the book that they have in the little offices they have set up here, and they usually have an alphabetical listing of all the names. So I usually check for my mother's maiden name, which is Pfeffer, and my name, which is Dorr. And in this particular cemetery, I found something a little startling. I found an actual Eric Dorr, although it's spelled differently, and right behind it is someone with the name Pfeffer, and that is spelled correctly. So I've never seen that before. Pretty interesting. Eric Dorr is buried here.
They all, wait a minute. They were all born these days and they died this one day here.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. He would have been 21, okay.
Les, how old were you when all of this was going on?
I enlisted when I was 19. I was shot down when I was 20. I spent my 21st birthday at the POW.
as the Soviets were moving through this area, there was an order that was put out to bury all of the dead, whether they were Soviet or German. This wasn't for sentimental reasons. This was mainly for sanitary reasons. And after the war, there was a local Protestant minister by the name of Ernst Teichmann who saw all of these shallow graves that were in the fields, in the forest, in people's gardens, and being a Christian minister, realized that we are all equal in death. So he began the work of gathering up all of these war dead from these scattered graves and bringing them right here to this place. And as I mentioned earlier, this still remains a burying ground for the unknown German soldiers who are found at a staggering rate here in this area.